Glad you're here. It's a great day to be at church. No, I was thinking about that old song a while ago. That great day, your first day in heaven, when you're walking down the Golden Avenue, mansions in the sky, and that's as far as I remember. That's going to be a wonderful day when we get to go to heaven. But till then, we've got to live here, and God goes with us. I'm going to continue our series today on 7. This is our 6th Sunday in. We talked about the 7. We're talking about 5, or we have talked about 5 of the 7 deadly sins. We started with lust. We moved on to gluttony, sloth, envy, and last week we talked about anger or wrath. If you've missed any of those and want to hear any of them, they're all up on the website, or you can get them on your phone if you've got the app. They're on there also. Each week we've looked into those and we've kind of torn them apart and then we kind of put it back together and how can we deal with those and overcome those things. And last week I thought it was very fascinating in that I had to look at it from a different perspective than I normally would have because I'm more of the explosive anger kind of guy. And I had, Alicia and I talk about some of this stuff sometimes and she says, but what about that person that's that passive-aggressive person that's, you know, they're just that silent anger. They never really blow up, but they do their thing. So it kind of helped me see that from a different person's perspective, and I was able to bring that in. And so last week with anger, but this week we're talking about another fun one called greed. All of these are so fun and so exciting, you know, but I think they're things we need to deal with on occasion. So we're talking about greed. So what is greed? I think we probably all have a definition in mind. But one writer said, greed is the denial of the sharing and interdependency of that God created us for. Wow. The denial and the interdependency of that God created us for consists in the desire to stake out and continually expand a realm of private property whose use remains wholly subject to our control. So in some ways, greed is a control issue. Scripture shows us, as we look at this, Scripture shows us a couple of things about how and why we were made and about ourselves. First, we know we were formed from the dust of the ground. God took the dust of the earth and formed Adam. Then the second thing, we're made alive by the breath of God. God breathed into them the breath of life. He breathed into Adam the breath of life. And then here's the third part that is probably the most difficult for us to handle, and it's a challenge all of the walk of our Christian walk, is we are wholly dependent, secure only as we rest upon God. Now that's tough for us in an affluent society because we like to rely on our checkbooks, we like to rely on the bank account, we like to rely on our jobs, we like to rely on all of that stuff. But God says, you still need to rely on me. That's the way I created you. The second thing that we see in Scripture that God created us and about us is it was not natural for man to be alone. God saw that Adam was alone and he created Eve out of his side so that he would have someone to walk with, someone to share with. Not just to help him do his work, but someone to share his life with. Someone that he could share the blessings God had given him, the things that in the garden that God had given them, that Adam could share. And we're still created in that way. We're made to share with others. We're not made to walk this journey alone. And it's always wonderful in those moments that we need friends that they're always there. That they're sharing and they're pouring into our lives. We were made to share what God's given us and blessed us with. It does not matter what it is, whether it's our time. Sometimes people just need a time, a few minutes of your time. Sometimes they may need a little of your money for a project or whatever it is, and we're going to talk about a couple of those projects at the end of service that we can spend some of our time with and some of our money on. And sometimes it's our resources or our talents and gifts that we need to share. Another writer said about greed, when we feel greed, we retreat into ourselves and seek to be self-sufficient. But that's in a minute. When we feel greed, we retreat into ourselves and seek to be self-sufficient. When greed starts setting in, we go, I can handle this. I got this. And somebody might look at you and say, what about God? I got this. I got this. He goes on to say, when we do this, we deny what we were fundamentally created to be. We deny what we were fundamentally created to be. Aquinas said of greed, the essential contrast between greed on the one hand and lust and gluttony on the other is that greed is an inordinate desire for the useful good, while lust and gluttony are for the delightful good. We want to hoard what is useful. We want to be greedy about it, take it in. It's useful, money is useful, our time is useful, our talents are useful, but when we get greedy, we want to hoard them and keep them in ourselves. As a matter of fact, there are 3 types of greed we have to guard against. And the first one is the greed of power. And this says our stuff is used to achieve, wield, and display personal power. And to me, that borderlines on the sin of pride that we're going to talk about next week. And so we use it to create a sense of power around us, and we gather all of this stuff. The second one is the greed of fear. Fear is a poor motivator for virtue. Greedy people are not the most virtuous people in the world, but it's an excellent one for greed. Because when we begin to fear, we begin to think about what the future holds. We begin to think about, oh Lord, what if I lose my job? Oh Lord, what if the economy goes flat? Oh Lord, what if this happens? Oh Lord, what if I wind up living down by the river in a van and no job? And I keep going back to that one, but it's a pretty good one. And so, what if this stuff happens to me? What if my retirement account goes flat? We think about these things, and the greed of fear causes us to begin to hoard things and store up. And it takes away our trust in God. Not that saving for retirement is bad. Not that having a savings account is bad. But when we begin to develop that attitude of, I got to prepare for every emergency that I can think of. When God says, I'll cover every emergency you can think of and more. I put my trust in Him. I don't let the fear dictate how I'm going to live. Because that fear takes away my trust from Him. And a trust in God will free us from the need to build up massive buffers against poverty and everything that can happen. The third greed we have to fight is the greed of acquisition and enslavement. This is called slavery to stuff. Yeah. How many have stuff? Okay, the rest of you are lying. Just say it. How many of you have more stuff than you need? That was not a nice question, was it? Now, let's even get closer to home. In your kitchen cabinets, how many of you have more appliances than... put your hand on the other side. How many of you have more appliances than you need? Do you have a graveyard appliance? Anybody? And then you go looking on the internet, and you go, or there's that TV show that comes on. You gotta have this. You gotta have the egg cracker because you're not smart enough to crack eggs without one. And we began to acquire this stuff. Patty and I just bought a new waffle iron because the old Mickey Mouse one died. We still don't know where to put it because it's bigger than the Mickey Mouse one was. It makes good stuff, but we don't know where to put it yet. And we develop this greed, and not that any of that is bad, but it's how we develop it. We just start acquiring, and we keep acquiring. And we reduce ourselves to a small and cold desire to accumulate more stuff. And we just keep getting stuff. And then someday, you're going to move. Enough said, right there. You've done freaked out on me. Or some of you are hoping, I hope I outlive my stuff so the kids have to deal with it. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Just live long enough to let the kids deal with it. And so we have all this stuff, but we need to keep our look and our trust in God. So how do we overcome grief? How do we do this? Paul gives us an excellent way in 2 Timothy. Paul is writing to Timothy, his young protege. And at the end of that book, in chapter 6, Paul gives Timothy some great advice. He says to them, starting in verse 17, he says, command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant, nor to put their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain, but to put their hope in God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. Command them to do good, to be rich in good deeds, and to be generous and willing to share. In this way, they will lay up treasure for themselves as a firm foundation for the coming age, so that they may take hold of the life that is truly life. Wow. So let's look at that. Let's kind of break that down for a few minutes. The first thing he tells Timothy is in verse 7. Command those who are rich in this present world. Can I tell you something, folks? We're all in that category. If you look at the rest of the world, we're rich. We are rich in this present world. And God tells Timothy to command those who are rich not to be arrogant with their wealth. We have to remember from whence our wealth came. And he said, don't put your hope in what's in the checkbook. Don't put your hope in what's in the savings account. Don't put your hope in what's in the retirement account. Don't put your hope in your money. Don't get arrogant about it, because that stuff is unsure. I can't tell you the people I know that have lost thousands and thousands of dollars when the stock market fluctuates majorly. I've known many of them. I've not known those that lost millions, but there have been those. And if our trust is in that, when that market fluctuates, we're in trouble. But if our hope is in God, when the market fluctuates, I go, okay, it fluctuated. I lost some money. God's still my source. If we change presidents and we're all freaking out about the economy, God's still in charge of the economy. I don't care who's in the White House. I don't care who's at the Congress office. God's still in charge of my economy. It doesn't. I put my hope in God. And look at what he said. He richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. Wow. He provides for, not only does he provide for us, he provides for our enjoyment. That's awesome. I don't get a check and go, oh, that's so sad, I got the check. I get to go, oh, I can enjoy doing what God wants me to do with this. Whether it's giving, whatever it is, I get to enjoy the blessings he's given us. The second thing he says, when we put our hope in him, we have everything we need. Not only do we live in contentment, but what we have is for our enjoyment. Then look at this. He continues to tell Timothy, command them. Don't just suggest to them, Timothy, command them to do good. Command them to do good. Each one of us need to do good. Sometimes it's easy to go, well, I may need that money. And God says, no, give it away at this moment that I speak to you. Command them to do good and be rich in good deeds. I like that. I wonder how I become rich in good deeds. Well, I believe it starts with our attitude. I believe first, if we get rid of that arrogance that can come in and maybe has crept into some of our lives, then we have put our hope in him. Then we begin to want to serve others and do good deeds. We begin to look around us and we begin to look for opportunities to serve others and give to others, whether it's financially, time, or talent. It doesn't matter. It doesn't always have to be money. Sometimes it's just a smile. Sometimes you need to smile at that person. Have you ever made the day of a McDonald's window person? Try it. They'll like it. Smile at them. When you have to deal with a customer service rep, can I tell you something? It's not their fault your stuff's screwed up. More than likely. Don't take it out on them. Show the love of Jesus. Do be rich in good deeds. And when you deal with them in love and kindness. And you know what? When you get through, you probably get more than you would if you screamed and yelled. Not to mention they'll say, thank you for being so nice. Be rich in good deeds. It starts with an attitude. We do good deeds by taking time. We spend our money, use our talents. And they require different things. We look for places to serve and do good deeds. When was the last time we paid something forward? When was the last time we went out of our way to do a good deed? When was the last time we stopped long enough to do something good? Ask you two questions. Are you rich in deeds? Number two, does God agree with you? Does God agree with you if you say, yeah, I'm rich in deeds? Does God agree with you? Well, Paul then goes on in that verse to say, and be generous and willing to share. Be generous. Be generous and willing to share. How generous are you? How willing to share are you? I love what the Message paraphrase says. It says to be extravagantly generous. Now I know when we hear the word extravagant, we think, oh, I can't afford extravagant. Yes, you can. You see, through nearly 40 years of marriage, and over 40 years of dating, being engaged, being married, I've been extravagant with my wife many, many times. Very rarely did it cost me an extravagant amount of money. You say, well, how does that work? Well, first of all, it means just doing it over the top. Doing it to the very best of your ability and maybe even going the extra mile. There are times when it may be extravagant money, but it may be that I threw myself totally into that moment. And I went beyond what I normally would have. I planned it better, and I executed it so well that it was an extravagant thing that I did, or you did. Because I took the time to put it together. I took the time to pour myself into it. I remember, I'm not bragging on myself, but this just came to mind. I hate Valentine's Day. I'm sorry. I hate to be told I have to tell my wife I love her. Not that I don't want to tell her. It's just I get crabby about that. Don't judge me. Some of you are feeling the same way. So one Valentine's Day, I'm going, what am I going to do? It's church night, Wednesday night. We're going to church, and everybody's going to go, what have you done for your wife? And everybody's going to ask her, what did Harold do for you? And she's going to go, nothing yet. So I'm going, what do I do? What do I do? Well, before the afternoon was over, I ran down to a music store. We had the song Sing at Our Wedding, You Are So Beautiful. I ran down to a used record store and I found that album of Joe Cocker's where he sang that song. So I bought the album. Went to Walmart, bought a little box of chocolates and a little bottle of sparkling grape juice and a couple of those fancy glasses to pour it in. And while the Royal Rangers and Missionaries of Boys and Girls program was going on, I ran into the cabinet where we kept all of our supplies and got out those little lace doilies and construction paper and glued it on there and wrote this mushy note. So then, after church, I grabbed all three of the kids who were 10 and under, I'm guessing, at that time. And I grabbed them, took them home, and had talked to one lady, and I said, would you do me a favor? Would you bring my wife home in a little while? I'm taking the kids home. I'm going to put them to bed, and then I will have Patty's Valentine's gift waiting on her. And so, you know, anytime a woman can help another woman get romance, they're all in favor of it. They may be jealous, but they'll help. And so I got the kids home, rushed them to bed, and I'm sure the kids are looking at me like, Dad's lost it again. And so I'm watching, because we had this long circle drive at that time, and so I see them bringing into the drive, and so I've got the record player, and if you don't know what that is, see me after service, I'll explain it. I know I dated myself on that one. At least it wasn't an 8-truck. And so, when she came in the door, I dropped the needle on the record and it started playing, You Are So Beautiful to Me. And after that, you just have to figure it out on your own. Did I spend, I don't think I spent more than $10 on that Valentine's Day, but it was extravagant. And yes, it was for my wife, but when was the last time we were extravagant for someone else besides our spouse? Or maybe even when was the last time we were extravagant to our spouse? That we took the time, that we did something beyond the norm. And we were extravagantly generous with either our time, our talent, or even our finances. Well, what happens when we do all of that? Paul says, in this way, when you do this, they will lay up treasure for themselves as a firm foundation for the coming age, so that they may take hold of the life that is truly life. Two things I see in that. Two rewards. First, the reward in the hereafter. We're laying up for ourselves treasure on the other side as a firm foundation. We're laying the foundation for eternity. So that when we get to heaven and we look at that place we're going to live, the foundation is a solid foundation. The life we're going to live has a solid foundation because we're doing that now within. We're investing in our future. And then, this is the part that I really love. There are rewards for that here on earth. He says, we will take hold of the life that is truly life. I think that's a part of what Jesus said in John 10:10 when he said, I came that they might have life more abundantly. I came that they might have life more abundantly. That they take hold of a life that is truly life. We will live, when we are generous, we will live a life that is more fruitful, a more contented life, and a more happy life. Because we have found what is truly life. When we begin to be generous and give away that which God has given us. Because folks, we're just stewards of what he gave us anyway. He didn't give it for us, give it to us for us to hoard. He gave it for us to steward and give away and to take care of those things we're supposed to take care of, but to give it away and share his blessings with us, whether it's time, talent, or treasure. So, how we do this? I'm glad you asked. There are a couple of opportunities coming up in North Liberty. And I'm going to do them in reverse order. And I have a reason for that. But on April 18th, Saturday, April 18th, here in North Liberty, it's called Make a Difference Day. All the churches, or I say all, a lot of the churches in North Liberty participate in this. You're paired up with about a team of 8, and you do things, you work in houses. It's an opportunity to help people, to help other people in North Liberty who need help. It meets at the First United Methodist Church at about 8 to 8:30 that Saturday morning. And I'll give you more details as we go here. Join us, and this is what they wrote on their website. Join us as we act as God's hands and feet in our community. Make a Difference Day is on Saturday, April 18th. This is a great way for the whole family to serve the community. One volunteer stated, "I work with a wonderful, caring, and dedicated group of people. Can't wait to do it again next year." So you say, well, what will we be doing? They'll be doing yard work, small construction jobs, window washing, and many more. And those projects improve the lives of the North Liberty community and are provided at no cost. And I put the website up there for you if you want to jot that down, and we'll try and get it up on Facebook tomorrow. And so that you can go directly there to read more about it. You can even go there and sign up. And I know, Matt, you did it last time, April, you did it last time, and Clint, you did it. And so if you have any questions, Matt even took James with him. And I think James had a blast with the way that Matt talked. So it's a great opportunity, and they're making it coincide with the big trash day here in North Liberty, so they can get rid of all the stuff they need to get rid of at the same time. And so that's a great opportunity to serve. And so you can go to that website, find more details, and sign up for it. The second thing, and this one's coming up real soon, and we've already talked briefly about it, and we're going to receive an offering in just a few minutes for this, and I'll tell you why. But it's called Kids Against Hunger, and it's Saturday, March 28th, which is 2 weeks from yesterday, at Holy Trinity Lutheran Church. And it goes from, I believe, 8 to 4 p.m., and they ask for volunteers to sign up for 1 hour during the course of the day. And what their site says about it, briefly, I'm not going to read all of it, is, but Kids Against Hunger is an international food relief organization working to save the lives of starving children and people around the world. To date, over 250 million Kids Against Hunger volunteers around the country have successfully packed over 350 million servings of food for worldwide distribution. Kids Against Hunger not only nourishes hungry children, but the spirit of its volunteers. While packaging, volunteers learn and reaffirm the importance of looking beyond ourselves and serving the needs of others. There will be teams of 12 to 14 people packaging meals for 1 hour. You can sign up as a group of 12 to 14, or you can sign up as an individual. The children can do this, because I know Mike Starkey did this, and they took Caleb with them. And I guess Caleb had a blast, the way they talked. And so, as long as you supervise your children, now if you have children too young, they also have child care for them. But they do say children with parental support are encouraged to participate. Now, the other thing they ask for this is, they figure you can pack about $35 worth of food in that hour. And so they ask you to help raise that $35. We're not asking you to do that. We're going to receive an offering here in a few minutes to help cover the cost of any volunteers we would have going to this. And so the goal for this year is 75,000 meals that they will pack in that 8-hour time period. 65,000 of that 75,000 will go to Central America. The other 10,000 goes to the North Liberty Food Pantry. That's awesome. So it stays here to minister to our local community. And so for more information on that one, I put the website there also for that one. Now here's what I want to do is I give a little more information. If you want to participate in this offering today, and you're going to write a check, please make sure you designate on that check it's for Kids Against Hunger. Even if you just put KAH on there in the memo line, put that on there. We also have offering envelopes, and so if the ushers would come help me just long enough to do the offering envelopes, and if you need an offering envelope, maybe if you're going to put cash in or something, take an offering envelope, please mark KAH, just maybe mark out the missions and put KAH. And if you have your tithes, put those in there also. Same thing with the check. If you have tithes, you want to put that in the offering, or you were going to put it in the offering, you can merge those two, that check if you wish. Just make sure you clearly mark on the memo what is for the church and what is for Kids Against Hunger. Is that clear as mud? I hope so. And then one other quick thing I just want to mention to put on your calendars. On Saturday, July 11th, there will be another fundraiser for the food pantry, and it's the North Liberty Turkey Trot. and they're going to do a 5K run, and I just want you to mark that on your calendar. And so, that being said, that's why I ask. That's the way I'm asking us to participate, and we're not asking you to do both. If you can do one or the other, that's great. If you can do both and you choose to do both, that's great. If for some reason you can't do either, that's okay too. But those are opportunities that we want you to be aware of in this community that allows us to be generous with those things that God has given us. I'm glad we have the opportunity to give back to Him. Father, thank you for that privilege, that you are generous with us, and you allow us to be generous with others. I pray your blessings in your name. Amen.